I hope you've enjoyed this series and that it's helping you learn to become like Jesus. What we've seen so far is Jesus had the character to treat others well and to withstand all the pressure and pain that he experienced in his life. And as we become more like him, we can experience the same. We've also learned that our personalities, our passions, our experiences, and our pain all work together to reveal a facet of God that cannot be found in anyone else. As you learn to be with Jesus in each of those areas, to invite him into them, to experience his healing and affirmation, and to develop clarity around who he made you to be, you will become more and more like him too. While we can't produce change on our own, there's certainly things that we can include in our lives if we truly want to change. We all need to experience healing, identity, character, vision, and time in order to change. Growth and change happen in the context of relationships. If we're going to become like Jesus, we have to live in community with others. Community offers encouragement, support, wisdom, and accountability. And we talked about the types of groups and environments that you can connect with at Definition Church if you want to continue to become more like Jesus. As we wrap up this series, I want you to hear from someone that made a decision to embrace community and experience healing, freedom, and change as a result. Check out Daniel's story.
My name is Daniel Walker, and I've been coming to Definition for about 9 months. When I was in the 7th grade, so I was about 12 years old, I went to a friend's party. He wasn't saved, his parents, none of them. And I was in this situation where these 2 girls just stripped in front of these guys, like just bare naked. And for a 12-year-old kid who wasn't exposed to that kind of stuff, that was really a struggle. Not only was I dealing with fear and anxiety, but suicidal thoughts. There was a process where I was able to come out of that. But in that situation, I grew an addiction to pornography. And it was something that I struggled with in middle school, all the way to high school, and even into college. It got to a point where I was getting curious about the gay lifestyle. After I graduated, I was moving to a new city for a job, and I wasn't plugged into a community that would help me in this tough situation that I was involved in. I was living this lifestyle in secret that my family and friends didn't know about while still going to church services. And so for me, it was really difficult because I knew that was not who God created me to be, but I still struggled with that stuff. And I struggled with that for 6 years. I prayed for 6 years that God would heal me of that. And it got to a point last year, I said, God, I just don't feel loved in this. I don't feel that anyone truly accepts me. I went to a pastor in my home church that I grew up in, and I simply messaged him and I said, hey, pastor, I've been struggling with pornography since the 7th grade, and I've been struggling with the same-sex attraction for 6 years, and I said, I've got to tell someone. And when I shared that with him, it was like I said, it was instantaneous. God completely delivered me. And that's the thing that I try and tell people, why it's so important for us to share our testimony and our struggles. Because the enemy desires for us to take what we're truly struggling with and push it to the corner or sweep it under the rug. And more than anything, he wants us to feel isolated, as if we're the only people who deal with what we're dealing with. I remember late last year, I was like, I've got to tell my family. I can't share my testimony with other people if I don't tell the people who are closest to me. And so one night we had a family dinner, and I was sitting beside him, and I was petrified. I mean, I was shaking, and my brother, I just remember, he came behind me and just put his hands on my shoulder and encouraged me. And, my brother and I were twins, but we had been so different growing up. And he had his own interests, and I had mine, and we had our own friends. And for him to just acknowledge me in that way, that of anyone that was sitting in that room, I was most scared of what he would think. That's when I realized that, okay, now I've done the first part, then now I have to find a community. We as believers, we're not meant to do this alone. Even Jesus had 12 guys with him who interceded with him, who evangelized with him, who ministered with him. And so 2,000 years later, we need it now more than ever. I actually found out about definition small groups from my brother. And so he kept pestering me about it, to just get in a small group. And for me, I've always been anxious about first meeting people. I love to talk. I'm not a big small talk person. I love to have a deep conversation, but talking about the weather or anything like that, it's hard. But it actually ended up being something so deep, because those were the very first people I shared my testimony with outside of my family. And it was just embraced with love and acceptance. And so that was the very first group that was impactful in my life. It's very easy to talk about alcoholism and domestic abuse and pornography, but same-sex attraction is like kind of taboo. And having a community that I built a relationship with made it easier for me to share with these people. Community is a thing that takes commitment, and I think that's why I was able to open up to these people in the way that I did, because I see them every single week. I know exactly what they're going through. I know their struggles. I can pray for them because we share on a deeply personal level. Small groups are for our benefit in our walk with Christ. Having brothers and sisters that we can have come beside us, that we can build relationships with, that'll be lasting relationships. It's so worth it, because now I'm in a situation where those who are around me are feeding into me, and then I can feed into their lives as well. Godly community is life transforming, and that's what it's done for me. It's changed my life, and I'm so glad that my brother pushed me to get involved in a small group.
What a powerful story, right? Community, family, it changes everything every time. And as we conclude, here are a few things that you can do right now to continue to grow and to learn to become more like Jesus. You can finish core. How about sign up for a small group today? Download the app for more community and relationship resources. Follow us on social media for tips and updates on future opportunities and resources as well. Well, that's the end of this series. And just know that we're praying for you as you become more like Jesus.